designer who love building things. Yeah, so today we're gonna share what we've been building and building for ourselves and also building for the other designers in my team. And I see a lot of founders here, but maybe one idea that nobody talked about the F&B business here because I was so struggling to find cheap and quick food option here because I had to find it in 30 minutes. So if anyone need more ideas, maybe F&B could be good around this neighborhood. Okay, joking aside. So probably this one representing who we are, I think better. So this is obviously Reza and myself, and there is a dwarf. And I think we have a lot of common things together. Both dwarfs and us love and care a lot about craft. I think that's the main sort of keyword that I want to highlight for today. And we make things, right? I don't know whether you've watched it, the Lord of the Rings. If you have watched it, probably, yeah, you are in the same generation like me, maybe have a back pain. And the dwarves and us like also use a lot of things, or even building and using the things that we built. And of course, they are not the strongest one, but that is quite important. One of the member of the team or the party, because they are providing them weapons for the others like the elves and the warriors and barbarians, right? I think that's also kind of representing who we are and what we do. And I'm guessing dwarves are funny, but we are also trying to be funny. Probably we spend more time and energy to be funny than the design, but basically these are sort of our key introduction of ourselves. Yep. Yeah, and the topic for today, like we're gonna show how and what we want to empower like designers, even ourselves, to give the control back to the quality of our craft. Because if you think about, right, like when the time about the dwarves and elves, the blacksmiths they themselves design and make by themselves. But then computers and so on, then we design, but the quality of the craft is actually under engineers. And now we have AI, but a lot of things are based on what AI generated, and it's really, really difficult to surface the intent that we want. That's why we really tried our best to service our intent 100%. So probably today we're gonna cover two different parts. The first thing is basically, the word like I make and I use. We're gonna show some of the mini apps that we built for our own projects, okay, and our product. Very cheap one. So we're gonna show more than tell. And the second part of the sharing today is gonna be the. Let me use this one. Sorry. Okay. What we build, like the tools that we build, not only for ourselves, but also the whole organization that we are working at. And also even further, like the public, so all the designers in the world or even the developers. So we're gonna cover those two parts today. And yes, since this is the like AI topic, for us, the AI is the hammer for us to build things ourselves and for all the designers and the builders. Yeah. Okay, let me quickly show some of the mini products, mini apps. Yeah. So this is the first sort of app I want to introduce to you. It's basically our division's logo. We both working for GovTech and forward deployed to MOE, and we are under DXD division, basically the product and innovation division under MOE. And this is our division logo. Our division is like around 400-ish people, and because we are designers, people think we can also design the logo. So, but I didn't want to logo like randomly. So I tried to come up with this kind of logo generator with all the grid and everything with some mathematics behind so that I can look smarter, right? So I'm also kind of pretentious, so I'm trying to build something like this to give some meanings behind of our logo. So this is something that we built. So it looks like a DVS, yes, I agree. But if you look at the details, it's a bit different. And this is some sort of first tool that we built. Back then it was like Opus 4 or before that. Yeah. And the other one I want to quickly show you is the org chart. I know every like startup, they can buy some org chart or HR app, and you have a good org chart SaaS. But in my organization, we don't have such a thing, and I was sick of talking a lot of the org chart and then the hiring and all the team related nonsense without anything visualized. So that's why I quickly built it and built it myself. And because we build it and we have a control on what we want to do. So this is a bit different from the normal org chart. Of course, it has everything that you would need to visualize your org chart, but we added some more detailed information about who you're reporting to and what you're specializing in. I'm South Korea, so of course I'm really good at making sojubam. So I kind of introduce myself and people can ask me about the sojubam or anything else. And what is my pet peeves, right? Like I hate people like just say hi and don't respond to me, for example. Those kind of little details that make this org chart more human. So, we could make this one because we have a control over what we want to do. So this is another example of the product that we built. And the other one is this is for the icon generator. So it's based on the what was the icon library? I forgot. Lucid icon. But then we kind of skin on the handwritten sort of details that is aligned with the brand. Very easy, but it's quite helpful for all the designers that don't. It can be on brand rather than using those just Lucid icons that every other SaaS product use. So we could add this kind of details of the things that we care about, which is like craft. So if you want to even further fine tune, you can also do it. And we built this one, and everyone can do it and download it, and the outcome will be like coded one, so that even the developer can immediately apply to their product as well. The last one I want to show you is one of the project that we did. Let me. Okay, I'll quickly explain what it is. We are working for MOE, and we built sort of sense-making island for the secondary school students, because we found that the most important for a student is not just about academic achievement. It's also about it's also about knowing themselves better so that they can guide their own future and career better than what their parents and their teachers say. That's why we started this project called My Word. Basically, the more you share about yourself and your own story, then the more personalized island that you can have, so that they can be more engaged and motivated to share more their honest feelings and thoughts. Because for now at school, they have a very structured and academic questionnaires generated by the HQ, headquarter, and also teacher. But I don't know how you think about it, but when you get a survey from your teacher, I mean, at least myself, I don't want to be honest. I don't want to share my weird thinkings behind, That's why we wanted to come up with the solution that is more approachable and delightful, so that their students are more engaged to share more things in, And this is the app. So how it works is basically, maybe I do. Yeah. So they can pick the color and hatch the companion, and they can have a chat with this companion providing some prompt to understand myself better. And once you share your thinkings and feelings, then the relevant object will pop up from the island. So for example, if I share about my recent interest, I don't know, like what is my interest recently? The girl groups, let's say, K-pop girl groups. Then it kind of blooms some of the flower and capture my interest recently, and it gives some meaning. Because sometimes students don't really able to articulate what they're feeling. So this app also kind of help me sense make what this means to me. So maybe because this is like how we do with the AI, maybe I'll just quickly show you this one. So as I mentioned, we just don't stick to whatever existing tools. If we don't have a right tool to achieve what is our intent, we build things and we make it happen. So that's basically our sort of mindset and mental model when it comes to design. So yeah, this is the island builder or asset builder that you can shape the island, or you can even plant the trees and the flowers as well, so that we can actually also scale to the relevant, like the student needs. Because we heard from the student that they want their own sort of, I don't know, sci-fi world, or the world with the other objects. So we kind of build this island builder so that we can respond to the very different needs from different users. I think that's kind of the sharings I can share with you, how we do and what we do to achieve our intent surfaced on the interface. Can you stop playing? Because this is your part. And the next part will be shared by Reza, and he will share about the two things that we are more serious about. The first thing is the design harness that we built and we are keep building for the whole organization. And the second one is the development tool, let's say, the design tool, which is called Handmade. You ready? Ready? You sure?
Yeah, I think if I can summarize what Wondo has shared, I think he has too much fun. I think that's what happens when you give designers too much power of and some background. I think Wondo was like one of the most non-technical designers I know. I think that's a good thing actually, because whatever he designed, I'm sure it's like really easy to use because he designed it for himself. I think that basically what we are building here is we are building it for ourselves, and I think that the interesting thing is like now we can building all these things. Then how can we, maybe the word is like codify this workflow into repeatable things that myself and my team can use as well, right? Yeah. So you doesn't need to be a design engineer to do it. So the first, I think we call it as design harness, but it's basically just I don't need to like sell this too much. I think everyone here should know like what skills are. But the interesting thing is like how can we teach the agents to know what good design is, right? I think that's the things that we wanted to build. Because the reason behind this is we have seen too much AI slop, and the people who created this product doesn't even know that those are slops, right? So what we did is basically we create a context layer on the left-hand side, consists of the control catalog, the primitive, and the design MD. I think the design MD is nothing new, but what we introduced here is more on the control catalog. So inside the control catalog itself, there are 3 levels: the non-negotiable, the mandatory, and the recommended. Where is the diagram? Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes. So some of this. So maybe I start with what to explain what control catalog is, right? So the control catalog is essentially just a YML file. Is that YML? I'm not sure if I pronounce it correctly. That lists down all the guidelines that the agent need to follow, like what to do, what not to do. And across these levels, there are rules that should apply across all our product in the place where we work at. So it's more like a global rules. And then L1 is mandatory, means you should use it, but if you have strong reasons not to use it, you can tell the agents, and then the agents will use the judgment to decide. Recommended means well, yeah, it's recommended. You doesn't need to follow, but if this makes sense, you should follow it. I think this is something that I think doesn't exist in the engineering world, where everything is deterministic. I think one of the very reasons why AI is very good at coding is because everything that you write, there will be a type check, there will be a lint, right? But in design and in writing in general, there is no ways to say that this is good and this is bad, right? But also at the same time, for designers, it's very hard to tell what is good design, because we always use this word called "it depends," right? Like it depends on the context, it depends on the problem, it depends on the whatever constraints the business has, right? So I think this is where the three level of hierarchy of the control. So when we say the agent have rules, we need to be able to say which one are the rules that they need to follow and which one is it depends. And then the way we approach this, it will be different also. The it depends part, it will be done by the judgment of the agents and the judgment of the human. And the non-negotiable part is deterministic, meaning we create a script to enforce these rules. So meaning that no agents required to enforce this. I think this is something that I think primitive is quite explanatory. This is just a list of like components, whatever component library they use, give it setcn or non-setcn. I think these days I think there are only 2 component library in the world, right? And then the design MD, meaning that what is your visual language in this product, and different product will have different visual language. All these contexts being fit into we call it as an orchestrator skills, meaning that I think we really want to dumb down like the way we use the skills, so that anyone who use it doesn't need to really think, know like what are the available lists in the skills. Like when should I use the DX? If you scroll to the right hand side. When should I use the design critic? When should I use the design flow? When should I use design patterns? When should I use design motion? So what they need to do, they just need to like / DX design. Then it will trying to understand the intent, and then will route to the correct specific scope. So what happened right now is, depending on the context, it will run sub-agents across these 3 levels, across this detailed scope, and then it will bring it back to the main orchestrators to decide. So it's more like, hey, these are some findings on what things that you can improve in motion. I give it back to you, to the main agent, and the main agent will give it back to the human, and they can decide to go on. Yeah, so this is basically the maybe -1 to 0, where you use prompting to generate your design, and then basically bring in your own knowledge in product building to and use agent as your collaborators, right? And then you like bring in like additional context of your product into and codify it into reusable skills that everyone in the team can use. But I think learning from all this experience, me myself, I've been designing for like around 10 years already. I think Wondo, he's older, he's I think 15, 20. Yeah, so one thing that quite clear to us is, I think prompting is not the way. Maybe there's one thing that you can take away from this session is you should be able to direct your agents not just by chatting, but also grab the agent hand and use your own hand to direct the design. So what we meant by that is what we call as a direct manipulations. So on the next slide, so this is what we've been quite spend a lot of our time to just think through what will be the next development tools that can fit in to the way we work, right? I think we do create a lot of like mini tools, and across all these mini tools, we just combine everything into the same workspace, and this is what we come up with. So if you can go next to the next slide, meaning that I think in SaaS there are so many these things called like when you should buy versus build, but we as the AI builders, why you should buy if you can just build, right? And you spend your entire months building your sub tools instead of your actual product. So that's basically what we have been doing. We keep delaying the actual product on just building the thing that build the product. But maybe that's the thing that we love doing. So why not we buy, right? Why not just use the existing tools to designs? I think this come up with the fact that I think the industry still think that designers shouldn't be in the code base. So I think the top, I wouldn't say the top, maybe the most interesting tools that I kind of feel this might be the next thing is this thing called Paper, which is kind of like Figma, but they generate HTML instead of these proprietary factors that Figma did, meaning that meaning the agents already know how to write HTMLs, right? But because we have been using Cloud Code so much, I don't think, I mean, just for ourselves, we do not need this round trip of going back to the canvas and going back to the actual app. I want to design directly on top of the real app that my developer is building. What if the collaborations that we needed, which what Figma is trying to sell is the multi-cursor thing, right? What if those collaboration layers already exist? Why should we reinvent collaborations? Then we ask ourselves, right? What are those questions? What are those collaboration tools? It's basically Git, right? GitHub. Engineers already live there. Some of us five coders, I think, getting introduced to Git. If you don't want that your five code goes away. Yeah, I guess it's better to demo, yeah. Yeah, so. Okay, I think I will try to do a direct demo. All right, so what you will see today will be the beta versions. If you go to the website usehandmade.com, this is the first version. It kind of worked, but I think along the way we learned more and we kind of like rethink how it should work fundamentally. So basically there are two things. One is the direct manipulation tools that you can, it's just an npm package that you can install on any other app that you are building. And what it does is, so let's say you are in your code base, right? This is the real code base. Then when I activate the design mode, what you get is the real canvas. So you do not need to go back and forth between canvas-based tools and the code base. We just render your app directly in the canvas, and you do not need to install any apps to use this. This is open source. Anyone can install it. Anyone can fork it. Do whatever you want. And what you can do here is you can basically do direct edit, do all the thing, reduce changes, like dragging things out. You can move So I think designers are very familiar with auto layout, but auto layout is just a flex box, right? Basically, we just translate everything one-to-one to code. Yeah, you can disable and enable things. You can adjust the radius and so on, right? But the problem with this is designers doesn't even know like what is npm package and how to install npm package. So we ask ourselves, what if this is an app, right? So what if this is a Mac apps? So this is what we come up with. So it can connect directly to your existing GitHub. You can just import from GitHub, see your existing project, and if you are invited to the code base by your developers, then you can just start creating new branch and start doing the design directly to the productions. I will try to go to, all right, so this is what you see on the top is the tabbing, like what you see in Figma basically. So you can work on multiple projects. There are two places. So the left sidebar is very familiar to what like Lovable does or V0 does, right? So you can just chat with your Sonnet 5, whatever. But what's interesting about this is when you enable the design mode or you go to this tab called design mode, you get the same canvas. And then let's say I'm editing my name to nobody, right? And then I can apply. And when I applying this kind of thing, I think I've seen a lot of like designers use like Fable to move 4 pixels to the left, right? So with this, you can just use like Haiku. I don't trust Haiku low, but maybe Haiku medium. Yeah, so I can apply. Then what it does is it will attach a skills basically, and then grab the line of code of that particular component and the context around it, and then what is the expected edits. It does track every edits that the user is trying to do. Some of these require agents and some of these are deterministic. So we are trying to like map out what can be deterministic and what can be agents powered edits. Other things is you can kind of create your, so I think we used to do this front end sandbox with Storybook, right? But with this, basically what it does is it help you, maybe let me run this one. It will, so if there is no sandbox created, yeah, so you can just set up a sandbox. Then when you run it, and then it will use the agents to help you create a storybook-like file. It basically uses actual storybook stories, meaning that you doesn't need to worry about, as a designer, I don't need to worry about all the back-end related stuff, and I can just focus on editing the component layers. And I think one example of that is I can just bring my button components here to the canvas next to my app, and I can just edit this directly. Yeah, and I can connect to the existing tokens, and I can choose like another variant and so on. I think this is like the very first version of this. There are some feedback that we are working with. Other things is like a dedicated components page where you can see all the components that you are working with in the app, and you can basically edit those components that make the entire app feels a little bit of a human touch, right? So this is basically what we think about working with agents, where you can inject your human touch directly to the code base, and no round trip needed between the design tools and the code base. I think that's what we are really trying to do here. I think other things is about how about animations and so on, right? So this is where things like this, basically showing a timeline on top of the actual code, can help us design the animation that you want it to be, and have like a granular control of those particular elements. I'm trying to I think there are some bugs that I cannot really show it. Alright, yeah, so I think that's all. Anything? Huh? Oh, okay. Alright, I think can show more.
Animation.
Yes, I think there are layers, there are tokens, there are components, there are all the things that you need. I think we have been working on this for about 6 months plus. Yes, 6 months plus. I think we have seen like a lot of like other products already have these visual editors as well, so we might need to think a little bit more on how can we double down on this. And so far we are still having fun building this. Let's see how. I guess that's it. Oh yeah, maybe the control catalog that we was talking about. So yeah, it's basically just a list of all the controls that the agents need to follow. Content, motion, anti-slop. Yes, I think in a way, technically it's very similar to impeccable.style, but how it works is slightly different. Because with this, you should define the, maybe if I go back to Figma. So yeah, I don't know how to use this.
Yeah, because we don't use Figma a lot these days. What do you want to do?
Oh yes. All right. So I think one thing, so I think maybe fundamentally the difference is how can the harness improve itself as the more people use it. So every time the agents run, there will be a hook that run the evaluation layer, where it will feed it back to as a GitHub issues in the main repo skills. So that's basically how it works. I guess that's it. Anything to add?
Okay, let me try.
So I think what we've observed while we are building and using, Harness can cover, I guess, roughly 70% of our intent. If you really define the rules and things correctly, but we still found the rest of the 20% that really define the high quality product is still quite difficult. Or you just need to back and forth between code and visualization and code and visualization. I think that's why we kind of built and still using in practice the handmade to make sure what we want are exactly surfaced on the screen. So I think this kind of two, harness and handmade, is kind of our favorite to ourselves to make sure we are confident and we are proud of our interface, the quality of the craft. I think that's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Reza and Wondo. Okay, we will open the floor to comments or feedback or any questions. Okay.
Thanks, guys. I actually built something similar, but much lower in terms of like the ability of what it could do. Basically, I was like at some point trying to make a lot of decks, HTML files. So I was just building like decks in HTML, but when you code decks, you can't really make edits easily, right? So I was like, oh, what if I could create a tool that allows me to take the HTML slides that I made and just move things around as well. I sort of abandoned that after a while because I think it got a little bit finicky, because the moment you start moving things around, basically similar to what you guys have here, like all the elements start to fly, and that was actually quite tricky for me. So I would love to try this and see how it works. So that's just a comment. The second thing was, I guess, semi-question, because one of the examples you guys shared in the first place was really interesting, the logo design. The logo design mini app, right? Because I think we all try to use various AI design software. Here, like we talk about cloud design, we talk about all these things. The problem is right now, it just sort of gives you the complete file, and there's no real thinking behind how you actually do it. And what you guys have done is you actually took your design thinking and principles and you created an app that other people can now use to create like really good logos, for instance, right? Because every time I go and use cloud design to try and create a logo, I then go back and go into my software and kind of start from scratch. So I guess like any other sort of design thinking or design principles that you guys have found useful to then use and create AI apps versus just relying on generative AI to create the finished product. Is that clear?
Is the question is more on the building the apps or building the logos?
Yeah, like any sort of other examples that you found quite useful, or any kind of the design thinking principles that you've used in your daily work. Yeah.
All right, I think I can take this. I think if we go back to the harness itself, where is the harness? Yes. So when we are building this design harness, right, we do not try to create the entire skills ourselves. Like, I think we do want to own the design related knowledge as a skill. So because that's what we wanted to achieve, right, as an outcome. But stealing Steve Jobs. Cringe, yeah. I think design is how it works, right? Not how it looks. So we do care about how it works first before thinking about how it looks, right? Hence, I think the title of this talk is the last 20%, right? And hence, the handmade tools is more about how do you put the final craft to your product. The last 20% is what differentiates you compared to the others. So on the product thinking part, we try to use existing skills that I think we both love so much. I think you have heard Matt Pocock. I hope I say his name correctly. So he recently just launched it. I think it's just like last week, Wayfinder. Maybe some of you have been using like Grill Me. So I think Wayfinder is essentially what, to me, Double Diamond is. It's forced you to diverge. and converge. And it's trying to, I think okay, maybe from myself as a designers, the way we build product, we don't really need to know like the how. Compared to when I look at my developer friends, the way they build products is they define the how. So Wayfinder switched that. It forces you to define the destinations, and then along the way try to find the how. Like, okay, we are going to build Mac apps. There are multiple architectures, a tech stack to build a Mac apps. You can use Swift UI, you can use Tauri, you can use Electron, and to render the canvas, you can use I don't know, WebGL, I guess. I think there are some WebGL guys. And you can use TL Draw, SDK as well, right? So these all decisions is being done by agents today, and some skills like I think GSD or superpowers try to ask you a bunch of questions to bring back the control to the human to make the decisions. But the way it makes decisions is like it's just ask the questions in the sessions, right? But in Wayfinder, it will create a destination issues in linear or GitHub issues as a destination. This is what I want. I want a MacBook apps that can design on top of your code base directly. We don't care how, but along the way, it will create multiple issues to record all these decisions. And then it will record decision that doesn't work as well. And then it will create a throwaway prototype, which is our previous version. We see it as a throwaway prototype that, okay, this doesn't work. We need to go to the other directions. So I think it's very similar to how designers think, what design thinking is really like forcing you to diverge in multiple directions before converging. And I think for Handmade and the product that we're building, I think we are in the converging part where we are really trying to craft the end outcome. Yeah. Sorry, my mind is a bit like all over the place here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry if it's like a very similar question, but I just kind of want to drill down also, because I feel like your tool is a bit more enterprise, where there's a whole like dev team and a design team, etc. Right? I think the founders that work with, they're much more bootstrapped. They're really trying to just create something from scratch, right? So I think what I've seen is that a lot of them try to imbue personality into an MVP, right? And then you kind of get a very weird, tacky looking app, especially consumer apps. I think B2B apps are fine. Corporates love using lousy and messy UI as long as it gets the job done. But what I found is that founders building for consumer apps, they struggle a lot with this concept that you talk about, the control catalog. So I want to see if you have any actionable things that I could tell some of my clients on how they should set up a control catalog, and maybe some things that they could try to get their toes into direct manipulation.
I don't know, maybe hire a designer.
They're bootstrapped, so they're poor.
Anyway, I'm not sure if I have the answers. Do you have the answers?
I don't know. Let's try together. Control catalog. I think if you use Xiaxian, you have a very safe outcome. But what the product looks different is your own taste and judgment. For us, it was a branding exercise. Like, what is the branding philosophy we want to deliver? And because the control catalog that we showed today was for our teachers, and we really have very strong point of view. What is the look and feel that we want to surface for teachers, which is like calm utility. Basically, teachers are very busy, frustrated with a lot of work. So we want to make sure they can do things done, but at the same time, we give some warmness and approachable feeling. So based on those kind of branding exercise, we kind of adding more characters on top of those deterministic or component level, so that it has very unique and like no sort of AI slope look and feel. So if you want some, I don't know, some learning from our side, that I think the branding and the visual direction was quite important to be defined, and adding another layer on top of those sassy and stuff.
Okay, cool. So maybe like they should spend more time telling the AI how to think before just getting their hands dirty, and then AI fills up the gaps with slop, something like that.
Yeah, I think what slop is, right? I think if we can define what slop is like indecisions. I feel like you didn't decide like what it should look like. Like has the founders decided like if the look and feel should be minimalist, should be not minimalist, should be maximalist. Like it's just like how you design your house, right? Like if there is no rules or systems, then your house will just look no one designed your house like it's just like tissue box here and fridge over there. The colors of the fridge doesn't match the TV, and I think for when you hire an ID, then your house will looks like put together, right? So okay, maybe I will try to answer without the choice of hiring a designers. Maybe there is an option to know like what you like first, like so you need to know like what do you like. So the moment you know what you like, then you can curate the look and feel based on this direction. So let's say I like I don't know, is that Japandi, like I don't know, Japandi look house, right? Then I just create a mood board of how my house should look like. Then I'm sure your agent will know how to generate a design MD based on this mood board. Yeah. So if your founder doesn't have a view on what the mood board should look like, then maybe ask some friends and family that have this like I don't know, good fashion sense. I think that's a good proxy of like knowing what good design is, I guess. And that's why I'm a design engineer. Yeah.
One last question is then.
Can I ask, like, have you introduced sense making into the schools, and like what are the students' response, including the island
Oh, are you from?
Not from a school. I just
education, right?
I'm very curious.
Oh yes. So we did like initial research. I think Wondo can add more, but we haven't done the pilot. So now it's in the funding stage within the government. Yes. Yeah. So we need to ask like, do we want to give AI to our kids? I think this is in that stage now. I think you have the chance to launch first rather than us.
It's true. It's really cool.
I mean, so far the reaction was quite good. We tested with more than 20 students, both girls and boys. Because we initially thought this is too what is the proper term to describe it? Like a bit too. We thought maybe boys wouldn't like it because it's a bit too colorful and. But turns out both boys and girls really liked it. So in terms of visual, I think we kind of went through the sort of pace. They were super excited with it. But again, the real problem in education, especially in Singapore, is the AI usage. Yeah, it's as a fast follower sort of government. Yeah. So this one maybe we